Millionaire sees a beggar with two children and recognizes her. What he did leaves everyone shocked. The streets of Manhattan bustled with their usual energy. Cars honked impatiently, pedestrians weaved through the sidewalks, and the glow of streetlights reflected off wet pavement from a recent drizzle. Among the well-dressed professionals and hurried shoppers, a tall, sharp-suited man stepped out of a sleek black car. Adam Blackwood, the billionaire owner of one of the world's most successful tech companies, moved with purpose. His tailored coat and polished shoes reflected his success, but his eyes carried the weight of someone who knew what it meant to struggle. As Adam crossed the busy intersection, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it briefly, a reminder about a high-profile meeting. But something on the sidewalk made him stop mid-step. He turned his head and noticed a figure sitting hunched over, clutching a thin, dirty blanket. Beside her sat a small boy, no older than 5, his cheeks streaked with dirt and his clothes tattered. Adam froze. The woman's face, partially hidden beneath a mess of tangled hair, struck something deep in him. She was tired. Her head hung low, yet her arms were wrapped protectively around the boy, as if shielding him from the world. A voice in his mind told him to keep walking, that this wasn't his business, but his feet refused to move. He knew her. Even under the layers of exhaustion and despair etched into her features, Adam recognized her. It was Sofia Harper, the girl he had admired all through high school, the girl who had once been a beacon of kindness in his life, even when he was just the shy, awkward boy who everyone overlooked. But the Sofia he remembered was full of life, with laughter that lit up every room. This woman, however, was a shadow of that memory. Adam's heart tightened. It had been over a decade since they'd last seen each other. And now here she was, on the streets, clutching a child who was clearly her son. The boy tugged at Sofia's sleeve. "Mama, I'm hungry," he said in a soft, shaky voice. Sofia stroked his hair and whispered, "I know, sweetheart. I'll find something soon, I promise." Her voice cracked, betraying the hopelessness she tried so hard to hide. Adam felt a lump form in his throat. Memories of her kindness toward him back in high school came flooding back. When no one else had cared, Sofia had shown him compassion. Now she was the one who seemed invisible to the world, lost in its cruel indifference. He took a deep breath and approached her slowly. "Sofia," he said, his voice tentative but firm. Sofia flinched at the sound of her name, lifting her head in alarm. Her eyes met his, wide with shock, and then filled with something else, shame. "Adam," she whispered, as if she couldn't believe her eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The noise of the city faded, and all that remained was the weight of the years that had passed. Sofia looked away, pulling her son closer to her side. "What happened to you?" Adam asked softly, his voice filled with genuine concern. Sofia shook her head, her fingers tightening around the blanket. "Please, Adam, just go. You don't need to get involved." But Adam couldn't walk away. He couldn't ignore the pain etched into her face or the quiet desperation in her son's eyes. Memories of his own struggles clawed at him, reminding him of nights when he had gone to bed hungry, when no one had cared enough to stop and help. "I can't just leave you like this," Adam said, his tone firmer now. "You and your son, this isn't right. Let me help you." Sofia shook her head again, tears glistening in her eyes. "I don't need your pity, Adam. It's not pity, Adam insisted. He crouched down, lowering himself to a level. It's me repaying the kindness you once showed me. I know you don't want to accept help, but think about your son. He doesn't deserve this. The boy clung to his mother's arm, his wide eyes flickering between Adam and Sofia. For a moment, Sofia hesitated. The weight of her pride battled with her need to protect her child. Finally, she nodded, her shoulders slumping in defeat. Okay, she whispered, but only for him. Adam stood and pulled out his phone. Stay right here. My car will be here in 5 minutes. As he stepped away to make arrangements, Sofia looked down at her son, brushing a tear from her cheek. She didn't know what to expect from Adam, but deep down, she felt the first flicker of hope she had allowed herself in years. Sofia sat stiffly in the leather seat of Adam's car, her arms wrapped tightly around Ethan as the driver maneuvered through the city streets. She avoided Adam's gaze, her eyes fixed on the city lights flashing past the window. The warmth of the car and the soft hum of the engine contrasted sharply with the cold, chaotic world she and her son had been surviving in. It felt surreal, like she had stepped into someone else's life. Ethan, now resting against her shoulder, had fallen asleep almost instantly. His small face, free of the tension he carried even while awake, broke Adam's heart. He glanced at Sofia, her frame still tense, as though she were bracing for a blow. Sofia, Adam said softly, breaking the silence. She flinched slightly, but didn't turn toward him. You don't have to do this, she murmured. Do what? Adam asked, his voice calm but firm. This, she replied, motioning vaguely around the luxurious car. Taking me in, helping me, whatever this is. Adam sighed, leaning forward slightly. Sofia, I don't have to do it. I want to. You're someone I cared about, and seeing you like that, I couldn't just walk away. Sofia finally turned to face him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You cared about me? She asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. Adam, I barely even noticed you in high school. And when I did, she trailed off, lowering her gaze in shame. Adam gave her a faint smile, though there was a flicker of pain in his eyes. I know. You didn't exactly make things easy for me. But that doesn't matter now. What matters is that you're here, and I can help. Sofia shook her head. You shouldn't waste your time or resources on me. I've made too many mistakes to fix my life now. Adam leaned back, studying her. The girl he remembered had been so full of life, so confident. Seeing her like this, defeated, was almost unbearable. Everyone makes mistakes, Sofia. What matters is what you do next. You've got Ethan to think about. He deserves a chance at a better life, and I know you want that for him. Her grip on Ethan tightened, her lips trembling. Of course I do, she whispered. But I've tried, Adam. I've tried everything, and it's never enough. You think I don't want more for him, for myself. She trailed off, biting her lip to stop the tears from falling. Adam's voice softened. You're not alone anymore. You don't have to do this by yourself. Sofia let out a bitter laugh. You don't understand. I've spent years trying to be strong for him, years convincing myself I could do it alone. And now, sitting here, all I feel is shame. Shame that I couldn't protect him from this. Adam's jaw tightened. He reached out, hesitated, and then placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Sofia, you've done more than most people could in your situation. And Ethan? He's still here, healthy and loved because of you. Don't underestimate the strength it took to get this far. Sofia looked at him, startled by the sincerity in his voice. For a moment, her defenses faltered, and she let herself believe him. She nodded slightly, though her expression remained conflicted. The car slowed as they pulled into the driveway of Adam's penthouse building. Sofia's eyes widened at the sight of the modern skyscraper, its glass exterior glowing warmly against the night sky. "I can't go in there," she said abruptly, shaking her head. "This isn't my world, Adam. It never was." Adam opened the door and stepped out before turning back to her. "It doesn't matter what world you think you belong to. Right now, you and Ethan need a place to stay. That's all this is. A safe place. Let me do this for you." Sofia hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to run. But Ethan stirred in her arms, his sleepy face reminding her of what truly mattered. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car, clutching her son close. Adam walked beside her as they entered the building, his presence steady and reassuring. The lobby was immaculate, with marble floors and soft lighting that made Sofia feel even more out of place. She shrank into herself, keeping her gaze down as they stepped into the elevator. The ride up was silent, the tension palpable. When the elevator doors opened, Sofia's breath caught. Adam's penthouse was spacious and elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a breathtaking view of the city. The warmth of the space, however, felt inviting, not intimidating. "Welcome," Adam said, his voice gentle. Sofia stepped inside hesitantly, her gaze darting around the room. Ethan stirred awake, rubbing his eyes. "Where are we, Mama?" he asked, his small voice breaking the silence. "We're—" Sofia began, but her voice failed her. "You're somewhere safe," Adam said, kneeling down to Ethan's level. "You don't have to worry about anything tonight, okay?" Ethan looked at him with wide eyes, then turned to his mother. Sofia nodded, giving him a weak but reassuring smile. "It's okay, sweetheart," she said, brushing his hair back. Adam straightened and motioned toward the couch. "Sit down. I'll get some food for you both." Sofia hesitated, but eventually complied, lowering herself onto the plush couch with Ethan in her lap. As Adam disappeared into the kitchen, she looked around, her mind racing. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in years, she felt a small glimmer of hope. When Adam returned with plates of warm food, he saw Sofia holding Ethan close, her eyes closed as if she were silently praying. He set the plates down and sat across from her, watching as she gently encouraged Ethan to eat. In that quiet moment, Adam made a promise to himself. No matter how much effort it took, he would help Sofia and Ethan rebuild their lives. They deserved more than what the world had given them, and he was determined to be the one to make it right. Sofia sat on the edge of the couch, a steaming cup of tea clasped between her hands. Ethan, now full and drowsy, had curled up next to her, his head resting in her lap. Adam watched them from across the room, his heart heavy with questions. He knew Sofia wouldn't open up easily, but he needed to understand what had brought her to this point. Sofia broke the silence first. "This place," she said softly, her eyes scanning the elegant space around her. "It's like something out of a dream." Adam leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "It doesn't have to be a dream, Sofia. This could be your reality, if you let it." She shook her head, a bitter smile forming on her lips. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple," Adam admitted, "but it's possible. You just have to let someone help." Sophia's gaze dropped to Ethan, her fingers absently running through his soft hair. She hesitated, then took a deep breath. I don't even know where to begin. Start wherever you want, Adam said gently. I'm here to listen. Sophia let out a shaky exhale, her voice trembling as she began. After high school, I thought I had my whole life ahead of me. I was so naive, Adam. I wanted to believe in fairy tales, in happy endings. So when Ryan came along, I thought I'd found my prince. Adam's jaw tightened at the name. Ryan had been the golden boy of their high school, charming, confident, and utterly self-absorbed. Adam had always seen through the facade, but he knew Sophia hadn't. We started dating after graduation, Sophia continued, her voice growing distant as she lost herself in the memories. He was everything I thought I wanted. Charismatic, ambitious, and so attentive at first. I fell for him hard. A year later, I got pregnant. She paused, her fingers tightening around her cup. Adam didn't interrupt, sensing that she needed to tell the story in her own time. When I told Ryan, I thought he'd be happy. I thought we'd face it together, you know? But instead, he panicked, said he wasn't ready to be a father, that I'd ruined his life. Her voice cracked, and she looked away, blinking back tears. He left, Adam, just like that. One day he was there, and the next he was gone. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone. Adam clenched his fist, anger simmering beneath the surface. He had always despised men like Ryan, men who took what they wanted and left destruction in their wake. But now wasn't the time to let that anger show. I was so scared, Sophia admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I had no job, no savings, and my parents, they couldn't do much to help. I tried to keep it together for Ethan, but life just kept knocking me down. Every time I thought I'd found my footing, something else would go wrong. She looked at Adam then, her eyes filled with pain and shame. I lost my job when Ethan was 2. The bills piled up, and eventually we were evicted. After that, it was just one long blur of survival. Shelters, food banks, sleeping in bus stations. I did whatever I could to keep Ethan safe, but it was never enough. Adam's chest tightened as he listened, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He had spent years building his empire, but no amount of money or success could shield him from the reality of Sophia's struggles. It humbled him, reminded him of how fragile life could be. You didn't fail, Sophia, he said softly. You did everything you could to protect your son. That's not failure. It's strength. Sophia shook her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. I don't feel strong, Adam. I feel broken. You're not broken, Adam insisted. You're still here, you're still fighting. That's what matters. Sophia looked at him, searching his face for any trace of pity. But all she saw was sincerity, a quiet determination that made her heart ache. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice trembling. Why do you care so much? Adam hesitated, the words lingering on the tip of his tongue. He thought about the boy he had once been, the shy, awkward kid who had admired Sophia from afar. She had been the only one who had ever shown him kindness, even if she hadn't realized it. And now, after all these years, he had the chance to repay her in some small way. Because you mattered to me, he said simply, and you still do. Sophia's breath caught, and she looked away, her emotions too overwhelming to process. For a moment, the room was silent, save for the soft sound of Ethan's breathing. Then Sophia spoke, her voice barely audible. I don't know how to fix this, Adam. I don't even know where to start. Adam leaned closer, his voice firm but gentle. You don't have to figure it out all at once. Just take it one step at a time, and I'll be here, every step of the way. Sofia looked at him then, really looked at him, and for the first time in years, she felt the faintest flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things could get better. The morning light filtered through the expansive windows of Adam's penthouse, casting a warm glow across the living room. Sofia sat at the dining table, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. She looked out at the city skyline, a mix of awe and disbelief in her eyes. For the first time in years, she had woken up in a safe, warm place, with no fear of what the day might bring. Yet, the weight of her situation remained heavy on her shoulders. Ethan's giggles broke the silence as he played on the carpet nearby, pushing a toy car Adam had found for him. Adam watched from the kitchen, leaning against the counter with a cup of coffee in hand. There was a quiet determination in his gaze, one that only grew stronger as he observed Sofia and her son. He walked over and sat across from her, his presence steady and reassuring. How are you feeling this morning? He asked. Sofia looked up, startled by the question. Better, I guess, she said softly. But I still don't understand why you're doing this for us, Adam. You don't owe me anything. Adam leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. This isn't about owing anyone anything, Sofia. I'm doing this because I want to, because I know what it's like to feel like the world's against you. She frowned, her curiosity piqued. You? You've always had everything, Adam. At least that's how I remember it. Adam smiled faintly, a flicker of pain crossing his face. That's what everyone thought. But the truth is, my life wasn't exactly easy. My parents struggled to make ends meet, and I spent most of my childhood worrying about how we'd get by. I know what it's like to feel invisible, to wonder if anyone even notices what you're going through. Sofia's expression softened as she listened. She had never considered that Adam might have faced his own hardships. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't know. You weren't supposed to know, Adam replied. Back then, I was just the awkward kid in the background, too scared to speak up. But you were different, Sofia. You didn't even realize it. But your kindness meant everything to me. And now I have the chance to return the favor. Sofia looked away, her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. I don't even know where to begin, Adam. My life feels like such a mess. That's why I'm here, Adam said, his tone firm yet gentle. You don't have to do this alone anymore. I want to help you get back on your feet, whatever it takes. She hesitated, the weight of her pride holding her back. I don't want to be a burden, she murmured. You're not a burden, Adam said firmly. You're a mother trying to give her son a better life. That's not something to be ashamed of. Sofia's eyes filled with tears, and she quickly wiped them away. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple, Adam admitted, but it's possible. We'll take it one step at a time, starting with the basics. Food, clothes, a safe place to stay. And then when you're ready, we'll figure out the next steps. Sofia looked at him, searching his face for any sign of insincerity. But all she saw was determination, an unshakable resolve to help her, no matter how difficult it might be. Okay, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll try. Adam smiled. a spark of relief in his eyes. That's all I'm asking. Over the next few hours, Adam set his plan into motion. He called his housekeeper, instructing her to prepare a room for Sofia and Ethan. He arranged for a delivery of groceries and essentials, ensuring they wouldn't have to worry about the basics for a while. Sofia watched in quiet amazement as Adam seamlessly handled everything, his confidence and efficiency both reassuring and intimidating. When the housekeeper arrived, she greeted Sofia and Ethan warmly, immediately making them feel at home. She showed them to their room, a cozy space with a large bed, soft linens, and a small desk by the window. Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw the bed, and he ran to jump onto it, his laughter filling the room. "Mama, look!" he exclaimed, bouncing on the mattress. "It's so soft." Sofia smiled, her heart aching with gratitude. She turned to Adam, who stood in the doorway, watching the scene with a faint smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling, "for everything." Adam shook his head. "You don't have to thank me, Sofia. Just focus on taking care of yourself and Ethan. The rest will follow." That night, as Sofia tucked Ethan into bed, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. For the first time in years, the future didn't seem so bleak. She glanced out the window at the city lights, her mind racing with thoughts of what might come next. In the living room, Adam sat by the fireplace, staring into the flames. He knew that helping Sofia and Ethan wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He had made up his mind. He wouldn't let them slip through the cracks of the world. They deserved better, and he was determined to give them a chance at a new beginning. The first few days in Adam's penthouse were a blur for Sofia. The soft bed, the warmth of the rooms, the steady supply of food, all of it felt unreal. Ethan thrived almost immediately, his once pale and gaunt face now bright with excitement as he explored his new surroundings. He especially loved the balcony garden, where he spent hours chasing butterflies and playing with toy cars Adam had bought for him. For Sofia, however, adjusting was harder. She couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. Every time she looked at the sleek furniture or the glittering skyline visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she felt a pang of guilt. This wasn't her world. It felt borrowed, fragile, like it could all disappear at any moment. Adam noticed her unease. One morning, as Sofia sat in the living room, staring blankly at a newspaper she wasn't really reading, he approached with a laptop in hand. "I've been thinking," he began, setting the laptop down on the coffee table in front of her. "You need a plan." Sofia looked up, frowning. "A plan for what?" "For getting back on your feet," Adam said. "I know this is overwhelming, but I think the first step is giving you something to work toward. Something that's yours." She hesitated, glancing at the laptop. "Adam, I don't even know where to start. I haven't worked in years. Who would hire someone like me?" "Someone like you?" Adam raised an eyebrow. "You're resilient, resourceful, and you've been through things most people couldn't handle. Those aren't weaknesses, Sofia. They're strengths." Sofia laughed bitterly. "That's generous of you to say, but employers don't care about resilience. They care about degrees and experience, neither of which I have." Adam leaned back, studying her. "What if you could gain the skills you need? I've looked into some programs, courses in business, entrepreneurship, even basic office management. You could start small, ease into it." Sofia stared at him, stunned. "You want me to go back to school?" Why not? Adam said, his tone casual but firm. You're smart, Sofia. Smarter than you give yourself credit for. And I'll cover the expenses so you don't have to worry about that. Her eyes widened, and she shook her head. I can't let you do that. You've already done so much, too much. Adam sighed, his expression softening. This isn't about me, Sofia. It's about you and Ethan. Don't you want to show him that anything is possible? That no matter how far you've fallen, you can rise again? Sofia's gaze dropped to her lap, his words hitting her like a wave. Of course she wanted that. More than anything, she wanted to be the kind of mother Ethan could be proud of. But the fear of failure loomed large in her mind. I'll think about it, she said finally, her voice quiet. Adam nodded. That's all I'm asking. The next day, Sofia found herself browsing through the courses Adam had suggested. She hesitated at first, her finger hovering over the trackpad, but eventually she filled out an application for an online business fundamentals program. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of change. Sofia's mornings were spent studying at a desk Adam had set up for her in the corner of the living room, while Ethan played happily nearby. At first, the material felt overwhelming. Charts, spreadsheets, concepts she had never encountered before. But Adam was always there, offering encouragement and helping her work through her doubts. You've got this, he would say, standing behind her as she pored over her notes. Take it one page at a time. Slowly but surely, Sofia began to find her rhythm. The more she learned, the more confident she became. She even started applying her newfound knowledge to small tasks around the penthouse, like organizing schedules and managing household expenses. Adam noticed her transformation and couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Ethan, too, was thriving. He had started attending a nearby preschool, where he quickly made friends and impressed his teachers with his curiosity and kindness. Every afternoon, he would run into the penthouse, excitedly sharing stories about his day. Sofia's heart swelled with joy every time she saw his beaming face. One evening, as Sofia sat at her desk, reviewing her coursework, Adam walked in with a tray of tea and snacks. He set it down beside her and leaned against the edge of the desk, watching her with a small smile. You've been at this for hours, he said. You need a break. Sofia looked up, smiling sheepishly. I didn't even realize the time. I guess I got carried away. That's a good sign, Adam said, handing her a cup of tea. It means you're passionate about what you're doing. She took the cup, her smile fading slightly. I want to prove to myself that I can do this, that I'm not a failure. Adam crouched down, so he was at eye level with her. Sofia, you're not a failure. You never were. And the fact that you're working so hard now only proves how strong you are. His words brought a lump to her throat, and she looked away, blinking back tears. Thank you, Adam, for everything. I don't think I've said that enough. You don't need to thank me, Adam said, his voice soft. I'm just glad I can help. As the days turned into weeks, Sofia's confidence grew. She began to take on more responsibilities, helping Adam with small tasks for his company, and even volunteering at Ethan's preschool. Every step forward felt like a victory, a reminder that she was capable of more than she had ever believed. Adam watched her transformation with admiration, but he also knew it wasn't just about her. Ethan was watching too, and every step Sofia took was teaching her son a valuable lesson, that even in the darkest of times, hope could be found, and new beginnings were always possible. Sofia's life was finally starting to take shape. The days in Adam's penthouse had turned into weeks, and the routine she built with Ethan felt stable, even hopeful. She was learning, thriving, and most importantly, Ethan was flourishing in ways she hadn't thought possible just months ago. But life has a way of testing even the strongest resolve. And Sofia's test came in a form she hoped she'd never face again. It started with a phone call. The sound of her phone buzzing broke the quiet rhythm of the afternoon. Sofia was at her desk, reviewing coursework, while Ethan colored at the dining table. She glanced at the screen and froze. The number was unlisted, but something about it sent a chill down her spine. With trembling fingers, she answered. "Sofia," the voice on the other end drawled, sending a jolt through her chest. She knew that voice. She'd hoped never to hear it again. "Ryan," she whispered, her throat tightening. "Surprised to hear from me?" he asked, his tone laced with arrogance. "I figured you'd want to know I'm back in town." Sofia's grip on the phone tightened. "Why are you calling me?" There was a pause, and then Ryan said, "I heard you've been living the high life. Staying with some rich guy in a penthouse. Must be nice." Her stomach churned. How did he know? "What do you want, Ryan?" "I want to see Ethan," he said, his voice suddenly serious. "I'm his father, Sofia. I have a right." Her heart sank. "You don't get to call yourself his father. You abandoned him, us. You haven't cared about him for years." "Things change," Ryan said, his voice sharp. "I'm not the same guy I was back then. I want to make things right." Sofia wanted to scream, but she forced herself to stay calm. "This isn't about making things right. What do you really want?" Ryan hesitated, and she heard the smirk in his voice when he replied, "I think you know. Your billionaire boyfriend has money, doesn't he? Maybe it's time he paid for the privilege of playing house with my son." Sofia's blood ran cold. "Stay away from us, Ryan," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "You have no right to disrupt our lives." "We'll see about that," Ryan said before hanging up. Sofia stared at the phone, her chest heaving. For a moment, she couldn't move. The fear and anger swirling inside her threatened to pull her under. Then Ethan's voice broke through the fog. "Mama, are you okay?" he asked, his big eyes filled with concern. She swallowed hard and forced a smile. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Go back to your drawing." But she wasn't okay, not even close. That evening, after Ethan was asleep, Sofia sat in the living room, her arms wrapped around herself. Adam found her there, her expression distant and troubled. "Sofia," he said gently, sitting beside her. "What's wrong?" She hesitated, unsure if she should tell him. But as she looked at his face, so steady and filled with concern, she knew she couldn't keep it to herself. "Ryan called me," she said finally. Adam's expression darkened. "What did he want?" "He said he wants to see Ethan," Sofia explained, her voice shaking. "But it's not about that. He knows I'm staying here, and he's after your money. He wants to use Ethan as leverage." Adam's jaw tightened, and a flash of anger crossed his face. "He has no right to come anywhere near you or Ethan." "I know," Sofia said, her voice breaking. "But I don't know what to do. I've spent so many years trying to protect Ethan from him, and now it feels like everything I've built is about to fall apart." Adam reached for her hand, his touch firm and reassuring. "Listen to me, Sofia. You're not alone in this anymore. If Ryan tries anything, I'll handle it. He won't hurt you or Ethan. I promise." Sofia looked at him, her eyes filling with tears. "Adam, I don't want you getting involved in my mess." "This isn't your mess, Sofia," Adam said firmly. "It's our mess, and I'm not going to stand by and let someone like Ryan threaten the life you're building." A week later, Ryan made his move. He showed up outside Ethan's preschool, leaning against a car with a smug grin as Sofia arrived to pick up her son. Her heart raced as she saw him, her instincts screaming at her to turn and run. "Sofia," he called, his voice dripping with faux warmth. "You're looking well." "What are you doing here?" she demanded, stepping protectively in front of Ethan. "I just wanted to see my son," Ryan said, his smile widening. "Is that such a crime?" Before Sofia could reply, a black car pulled up to the curb. The driver stepped out, and Adam followed, his presence commanding and unshakable. He strode toward them, his expression calm but deadly serious. "Ryan," Adam said, his voice low and measured, "I suggest you leave. Now." Ryan straightened, his bravado faltering slightly under Adam's intense gaze. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "Ethan's my son. I have a right to see him." Adam stepped closer, his tone icy. "You gave up that right when you walked away from him and Sofia. If you think you can waltz back into their lives and demand anything, you're mistaken. Stay away, or I'll make sure you regret it." Ryan opened his mouth to argue, but Adam's unwavering stare made him think twice. With a muttered curse, he turned and got into his car, driving off without another word. Sofia let out a shaky breath, her knees threatening to give out. Adam turned to her, his expression softening. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though tears filled her eyes. "Thank you, Adam. I don't know what I would have done without you." "You won't have to find out," he said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I meant what I said, Sofia. I'm here for you, for both of you." As they drove home, Sofia realized that for the first time in years, she didn't feel afraid. With Adam by her side, she felt safe, protected, and maybe even a little hopeful. The days following Ryan's confrontation were unexpectedly peaceful. Adam had kept his promise to Sofia, ensuring that Ryan was legally warned to stay away, and she hadn't heard from him since. The shadow of fear that had loomed over her life for years was beginning to lift. With every passing day, she felt more secure, more capable of rebuilding her life. But what she hadn't anticipated was how much her feelings for Adam would begin to change. At first, it was subtle. She would catch herself smiling when he walked into the room, or feeling a sense of calm whenever he was near. She tried to dismiss it, telling herself it was gratitude, nothing more. But deep down, she knew the truth. Adam wasn't just helping her and Ethan. He was becoming a part of their lives in a way she hadn't expected. One crisp autumn afternoon, Sofia sat on the balcony, watching Ethan and Adam play in the garden below. Ethan's laughter echoed through the air as he raced around with a kite Adam had bought him. Adam, usually so composed and serious, was laughing too, his expression light and carefree as he ran alongside the boy. Sofia's heart swelled at the sight. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what life could look like if they stayed here, if Adam continued to be a part of their world. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. She wasn't sure she was ready to open her heart again. Not after everything she had been through. That evening, as Sofia was finishing up some coursework at the dining table, Adam walked in with two steaming mugs of tea. He set one down in front of her and took a seat across from her. His sleeves rolled up and his tie loosened after a long day of work. "You're working late," he said, nodding toward her notes. "I just want to stay ahead," Sofia replied, taking a sip of tea. "It feels good to be learning again." Adam smiled, his gaze warm. "You're doing amazing, Sofia. I hope you realize that." She looked down at her mug, her cheeks flushing slightly. "I don't know about amazing, but it feels good to be trying." "You're more than trying," Adam said, leaning forward slightly. "You're thriving, and Ethan sees that. He's proud of you. I can tell." Sofia glanced up, meeting his eyes. "That means everything to me. He's the reason I keep going." "You're doing it for yourself too," Adam said softly. "Whether you see it or not, you're stronger than you give yourself credit for." Sofia's heart raced at the sincerity in his voice. She opened her mouth to respond, but before she could, Ethan's voice rang out from the hallway. "Mommy! Adam!" he called, running into the room with a piece of paper in hand. "Look what I made!" Adam chuckled and scooped the boy up, setting him on his lap. "Let's see," he said, holding the paper up. It was a drawing of the three of them, Sofia, Ethan, and Adam, standing together under a bright sun, with a house and a garden in the background. "This is us," Ethan explained proudly, pointing at the figures. "Me, Mommy, and you." Sofia's breath caught as she looked at the drawing. Her eyes met Adam's, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a shared feeling that neither dared to put into words just yet. "It's perfect," Adam said finally, his voice soft. "You're quite the artist, buddy," Ethan beamed, and Sofia reached over to ruffle his hair. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." That night, after Ethan was asleep, Sofia lingered in the living room, staring at the drawing. Adam joined her, sitting on the couch beside her. "He really loves you, you know," she said, her voice quiet. Adam glanced at the drawing and smiled. "The feeling's mutual. He's an incredible kid, Sofia, and that's because of you." Sofia shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you, Adam, for everything you've done for us." "You don't have to thank me," Adam said, turning to face her. "Sofia, I'm not doing this out of obligation. I care about you, about both of you, more than I can put into words." Sofia's heart skipped a beat. She looked at him, her emotions swirling. "Adam, You don't have to say anything," Adam said gently. "I just wanted you to know how I feel. I know you've been through so much, and I don't want to rush you into anything. I want you to know that I'm here, no matter what." Tears spilled down Sofia's cheeks, and she quickly wiped them away. "You've done so much for us already, Adam. I don't know if I deserve you." Adam reached for her hand, his touch warm and steady. "Sofia, you deserve everything, and I'll wait as long as you need. There's no rush." For a moment, Sofia let herself believe him. She squeezed his hand, a small tentative smile forming on her lips. "Thank you, Adam, for everything." They sat in comfortable silence after that, the warmth of the moment lingering between them. For the first time in years, Sofia felt a glimmer of something she hadn't dared to feel in a long time. Hope. And maybe, just maybe, the beginnings of love. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the soft scent of autumn leaves as they crunched underfoot. Sofia and Adam walked side by side through the park, Ethan running ahead with boundless energy. He darted between trees, chasing a squirrel that seemed just as amused by the game. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the branches, painting the scene with warm, golden hues. Sofia glanced at Adam, who seemed unusually quiet. Normally, he would be laughing at Ethan's antics, or teasing Sofia about how competitive her son could be. But today, his expression was thoughtful, almost distant. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. Adam hesitated, his hands stuffed into the pockets of his coat. "I've just been thinking." "About what?" Sofia prompted, her curiosity piqued. He looked at her, his eyes steady and serious. "About us." Sofia's breath caught. She hadn't expected such a direct answer. "Oh," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Adam stopped walking, gently taking her arm to bring her to a halt as well. Ethan, still engrossed in his game, was safely within sight, but far enough to give them privacy. Adam turned to face her fully, his eyes searching hers. "Sofia," he began, his voice low and filled with emotion. "There's something I need to say, and I don't want to keep holding it in." She nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. "Okay." Adam took a deep breath. "From the moment I saw you that day on the sidewalk, something shifted in me. I wasn't just shocked to see you. I was struck by how much I still cared about you. I've watched you over these past weeks, Sofia, and I've seen your strength, your resilience, and your love for Ethan. You've completely changed my life." Sofia felt a lump rise in her throat, but she couldn't speak. She could only listen, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. "I know you've been hurt," Adam continued, his voice soft but unwavering. "And I know trusting someone again doesn't come easy. But I need you to know how I feel. I care about you, Sofia, deeply. And not just you, Ethan too. You've both become such an important part of my life." Tears welled in Sofia's eyes as his words sank in. She looked away, trying to steady her breathing. "Adam, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Adam said gently. "I just wanted to be honest with you. I know this is a lot, and I don't expect you to feel the same way, not yet anyway. I needed you to know." Sofia finally met his gaze, her emotions swirling. "It's not that I don't feel something for you, Adam," she said, her voice trembling. "I do. But this is so new to me. I'm still trying to figure out who I am, trying to build a life for Ethan and me. I don't know if I'm ready." Adam nodded, his expression understanding. "I get it. And I don't want to rush you or pressure you. Take all the time you need, Sofia. I'm not going anywhere." Sofia smiled through her tears, a mix of gratitude and something deeper filling her chest. "Thank you, Adam, for being patient with me, for everything." Adam returned her smile, his eyes warm and reassuring. "You're worth the wait." Just then, Ethan ran back toward them, his cheeks flushed and his eyes bright. "Mommy, Adam, did you see the squirrel?" "It was so fast," Sofia laughed, bending down to scoop him up. "I saw, sweetheart. It looked like it was having as much fun as you." Adam ruffled Ethan's hair, his heart full as he watched the two of them. In that moment, he knew he had made the right choice in confessing his feelings. Even if Sofia wasn't ready now, he would wait. Because being with her and Ethan, creating a life with them, was all he wanted. That evening, back at the penthouse, Sofia sat on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket and staring out at the city lights. Her mind replayed Adam's words, each one sinking deeper into her heart. She hadn't expected him to open up like that, hadn't expected the depth of his feelings, and yet she couldn't deny that a part of her was beginning to feel the same way. But fear lingered, a quiet voice in the back of her mind, reminding her of all the times she had been hurt, all the times she had trusted the wrong person. She wasn't sure if she could open herself up to that kind of vulnerability again. Still, as she looked inside and saw Adam helping Ethan with a puzzle on the living room floor, a sense of warmth and safety washed over her. Maybe, just maybe, this was different. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to consider the possibility of a future that wasn't just about survival, a future filled with love, stability, and hope. And for the first time, she thought that future might include Adam. The weeks after Adam's confession brought subtle but meaningful changes in the dynamic between him and Sofia. She was still cautious, hesitant to let herself fully embrace the possibility of love. But the walls she had built around her heart were slowly crumbling. Adam, true to his word, remained patient and supportive, never pressuring her, but always making it clear that he cared for her and Ethan. Sofia threw herself into her studies, determined to finish the course Adam had encouraged her to take. Her confidence grew with every assignment she completed, and she even began assisting Adam with small projects for his company. The sense of purpose it gave her was something she hadn't felt in years. One morning, Sofia was at the dining table, flipping through her notes, when Adam approached with a folder in his hand. He placed it on the table and sat across from her, his expression unreadable. "What's this?" she asked, glancing at the folder. "Open it and see," Adam replied with a small smile. Sofia hesitated, then opened the folder. Inside were papers detailing a job offer, a part-time position at Adam's company, tailored to her growing skill set. "I thought it was time for you to start using everything you've been learning," Adam said. "You'd be working as a project assistant, part-time for now, so you can balance it with your studies and Ethan." Sofia's eyes widened as she looked through the papers. "Adam, I don't know what to say. I don't even know if I'm ready." "You're more than ready," Adam said firmly. "You've been doing this kind of work already, organizing, managing tasks. This is just making it official. And it's not a favor, Sofia. You've earned this." Tears filled her eyes as she looked up at him. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "I never thought I'd have this kind of opportunity." "You deserve it," Adam said with a warm smile, "and I have no doubt you're going to excel." That evening, as Sofia tucked Ethan into bed, he looked up at her with his big, curious eyes. "Mommy, are we going to stay here forever?" Sofia's heart ached at the question. She brushed his hair back and kissed his forehead. "I don't know, sweetheart. But for now, we're safe. And that's what matters." Ethan nodded, his eyes growing heavy with sleep. "I like it here. Adam's nice." "He is, isn't he?" Sofia said softly, watching her son drift off. When she returned to the living room, she found Adam sitting by the fireplace, a glass of wine in his hand. He looked up as she entered, gesturing for her to join him. "How's Ethan?" he asked as she sat down beside him. "Fast asleep," Sofia replied with a smile. "He really loves it here. He loves you." Adam's expression softened. "The feeling's mutual. He's an incredible kid, Sofia. And that's because of you." Sofia looked down, her fingers nervously twisting the edge of her sleeve. "Adam, there's something I need to say." He set down his glass and turned to face her, his full attention on her. "I'm listening." Sofia took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "When you told me how you felt, I didn't know how to respond. I've spent so many years feeling like I couldn't trust anyone, like I had to do everything on my own. But you've shown me that it's okay to lean on someone, that it's okay to let someone in." She paused, her eyes meeting his. "I care about you, Adam, more than I thought I ever could. And I'm scared, but I don't want to let that fear stop me from seeing where this could go." Adam's face lit up with a smile, his eyes shining with warmth. "Sofia, you have no idea how much that means to me." He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I know this hasn't been easy for you, and I'll never stop being patient. But hearing you say that, it's everything I've been hoping for." Sofia smiled through her tears, a mix of relief and joy flooding her chest. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that happiness was within reach. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of activity. Sofia started her new job at Adam's company, where she quickly proved herself to be hardworking and capable. Ethan continued to thrive at his preschool, his laughter filling the penthouse every afternoon. And as for Adam and Sofia, their bond grew stronger with every passing day. One evening, Adam surprised Sofia with a quiet dinner on the penthouse terrace. The table was set with candles and flowers, the city lights twinkling in the distance. As they sat together, enjoying the meal, Adam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Sofia froze, her heart pounding as he opened the box to reveal a delicate ring. "Sofia," Adam began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "You and Ethan have changed my life in ways I never thought possible. You've given me a sense of purpose, a sense of family. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building the life you and Ethan deserve. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Sofia's face as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Yes, Adam, I will." Adam slipped the ring onto her finger, his hands trembling slightly. Then he pulled her into an embrace, holding her as if he never wanted to let go. From the doorway, Ethan peeked out, having overheard the commotion. "Mommy, did Adam give you a present?" he asked, his voice full of curiosity. Sofia laughed, wiping her tears, as she knelt down to scoop Ethan into her arms. "Yes, sweetheart. He gave me a very special present." "Does this mean Adam is going to stay with us forever?" Ethan asked, his eyes wide. Adam crouched down beside them, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "If it's okay with you, buddy, I'd like that very much." Ethan grinned. "I'd like that too." That night, as Sofia lay in bed, staring at the ring on her finger, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The journey hadn't been easy, but she had found her way to something she never thought she'd have again. A home, a family, and a future filled with love. The day of the wedding arrived, marked by a soft golden glow that seemed to touch everything with magic. Sofia stood in front of the mirror in a simple yet elegant white dress, the fabric flowing gracefully as if it had been made just for her. Harper and Ethan, dressed as a flower girl and ring bearer respectively, hovered excitedly nearby, their giggles filling the room as they admired their outfits. "You look like a princess, Mommy," Ethan said, his eyes wide with admiration. Sofia smiled, crouching down to kiss his forehead. "And you, my love, look like a prince." The housekeeper entered the room with a bouquet of soft blush roses, her eyes misting at the sight of Sofia. It's time, she said gently. Sofia nodded, her heart racing, as she took a final deep breath. This was it, the moment she had never dared to dream of. She wasn't just walking down the aisle to marry a man who had given her and Ethan everything. She was walking toward a new beginning, a life filled with love, stability, and hope. The ceremony was held in the penthouse garden, a small but beautiful space Adam had transformed into an intimate setting for the occasion. Only a handful of close friends and trusted colleagues were in attendance, making the event feel warm and personal. Sofia stepped out onto the garden path, Harper and Ethan walking ahead of her, tossing rose petals along the way. Adam stood at the end of the aisle, dressed in a sharp black suit, his eyes locked on Sofia. As she walked toward him, she felt every ounce of fear and doubt melt away. All she saw was the man who had not only saved her and Ethan, but had shown her that love could be gentle, patient, and kind. When she reached him, Adam took her hands, his touch steady and reassuring. The officiant began the ceremony, but Sofia barely heard the words. All she could focus on was Adam's gaze. The unspoken promises and unwavering devotion reflected in his eyes. When it came time to exchange vows, Adam spoke first. His voice was steady, though filled with emotion. Sofia, from the moment I saw you again, I knew my life was about to change. You've shown me what it means to be strong, to persevere, and to love unconditionally. I promise to stand by you, to support you, and to love you and Ethan with all my heart, for today and for the rest of our lives. Sofia's tears spilled freely as she spoke her own vows. Adam, you've been my anchor in a storm I thought would never end. You've shown me that it's okay to hope again, to trust, and to believe in love. I promise to love you, to support you, and to build a future with you. A future where Ethan, you and I can be a family, always. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and as Adam leaned in to kiss her, the small gathering erupted into applause. Ethan and Harper cheered the loudest, running to hug them as soon as the ceremony ended. Sofia scooped up Ethan, while Adam lifted Harper, and the four of them stood together, their laughter mingling with the soft rustle of the garden breeze. The days that followed were filled with joy and quiet moments of reflection. Sofia and Adam settled into their new life as husband and wife, creating routines that felt natural and full of love. Ethan, now calling Adam Dad without hesitation, reveled in the stability and happiness that surrounded him. Harper, though technically not Adam's child, had been embraced as a daughter in every way that mattered, her bond with Adam growing deeper every day. Sofia's part-time role at Adam's company quickly grew into something more. Her skills and confidence blossomed, and she began managing projects with the same resilience and determination that had carried her through the hardest times. Adam, proud but never overbearing, gave her the space to grow, knowing that her success was a reflection of her own strength. One afternoon, as Sofia sat at her desk reviewing a new proposal, Adam entered the room with a cup of tea in hand. "You've been at this all morning," he said, placing the cup beside her. "Take a break." Sofia smiled, leaning back in her chair. "You sound like me when I tell Ethan to stop playing video games." Adam chuckled, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "He gets it from you, hard-working and unstoppable." She laughed softly, the sound full of warmth. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Adam." "You didn't need me to do it," he said, his voice serious. I just gave you the tools. You built this life for yourself. Sofia looked up at him, her heart full. Maybe, but I couldn't have dreamed this life without you. A few months later, Sofia and Adam received news that would complete their family in the most unexpected way. During a routine doctor's visit, Sofia discovered she was pregnant. The news brought tears of joy and excitement, and Ethan was especially thrilled at the idea of becoming a big brother. As the months passed, the family grew even closer, eagerly preparing for the arrival of their newest member. The nursery was decorated with soft hues, and Ethan often peeked in to make sure everything was ready. When the baby, a beautiful, healthy girl, was born, Adam and Sofia named her Hope, a tribute to the journey that had brought them to this point. Holding Hope in her arms, Sofia felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The storm that had once defined her life was gone, replaced by a love that was steadfast and true. On a quiet evening, months after Hope's birth, Sofia stood on the balcony of the penthouse, cradling her daughter in her arms. Ethan and Harper played in the garden below, their laughter rising like music. Adam joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders as he gazed out at their children. "This," Sofia said softly, her voice full of emotion, "this is everything I've ever wanted." Adam kissed the top of her head, his own heart full. "And this is just the beginning." Together, they watched their children play, the stars beginning to twinkle in the sky above them. Their journey had been long and full of challenges, but it had led them here, to a life filled with love, hope, and the promise of a bright future.